Overthinking. It's that mental hamster wheel that just will not stop spinning. We have all been there, right? Stuck in this endless loop of what ifs and should haves. But what is really going on in our heads when this happens? And I mean, the big question is, how do we stop it? All right, let's get into it. Oh, you know the feeling, right? You're lying there in bed, it's the middle of the night, and you're replaying a conversation from hours ago for like the 10th time. Did my tone sound weird? Should I have said that other thing? I mean, the other person, they've probably completely forgotten it even happened. But your brain, nope, it's stuck on instant replay, just churning and churning. It's a super frustrating, but also a really common part of being human. And look, if you feel like you're the only one stuck doing this, you are so not alone. I mean, get this. Research shows a staggering 73% of adults between 25 and 35 say they overthink on a regular basis. 73%. So no, this is not just a you thing. It is a huge, widespread thing. And that really begs the question, why? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the science of overthinking. First, we'll talk about the overthinking spiral, what it actually is. Then we'll get into the kind of surprising reason your brain does this in the first place. After that, we'll look at how your own personality shapes your thinking style. We'll even zoom out and see how this is a global thing. And then the best part, we'll get to the toolkit, how to actually reclaim your mind. All right, first things first. You can't really solve a problem until you understand it, right? So what exactly is this mental loop that we call overthinking? Let's define it. So the official term for this is rumination. Think of a cow chewing its cud. It's kind of like that, but with thoughts. It's when our minds get completely stuck on a loop, just chewing over past mistakes or anxieties about what's coming next. And let's be clear, this is not the same as deep, productive thinking. This is a totally draining cycle that actually stops you from solving problems, feeling balanced, or, getting a good night's sleep. And this is such a critical distinction to make. See, constructive thinking actually moves you forward. It leads to a solution or some kind of new insight. But rumination, it's the exact opposite. It's when thinking becomes, vague, super critical, and just makes you feel worse without giving you any kind of way forward. So think of it like this. One is a ladder that helps you climb out of a hole, and the other is just spinning your wheels, digging you deep. Okay, so if it's so unhelpful, why on earth do our brains do it? Well, that brings us to our next part. We're going to see how a safety feature that's literally built into your brain can go completely haywire. Okay, this is so important to get. Overthinking is not a personal flaw. It is not a sign that you're weak. It's a feature, not a bug. It's actually a protective mechanism that's just gone into overdrive. It's your brain's ancient, hardwired attempt to scan for threats, reduce uncertainty, and basically keep you safe. And it's really interesting to see the different ways this protective instinct can go wrong. Sometimes it's about anticipating danger, so you just run through every single worst-case scenario imaginable. Other times, it's your brain trying to process a really strong emotion, so it replays a charged event over and over, just trying to make sense of it. And get this, sometimes it's actually a form of avoidance. Your brain keeps you busy thinking so you don't have to do the hard thing in the real world. But here is the major glitch in the system. Our thoughts are not objective reality, not even close. They are deeply, deeply influenced by our physical state. I mean, there's this famous study of parole judges, and it showed they were way more likely to grant parole right after lunch than right before it. Why? It's simple. A hungry, tired brain is a more negative, risk-averse brain. Think about that. Your physical state, are you tired, hungry, stressed, is constantly coloring the very nature of your thought. Okay, so we get the general reason why our brains overthink, but now let's make it personal. How does your unique personality, your own internal wiring, shape the specific way that you get stuck in your head? And hey, this isn't just some vague theory. There's a ton of solid research out there that directly links our core personality traits to our specific styles of overthinking. It turns out the way we overthink is kind of woven right into the fabric of who we are. So using the Big Five personality model, which is super well established, you can see these patterns just pop right out. If you're high in neuroticism, you might get stuck in anxious brooding. If you're high in openness, maybe you get lost in these deep reflective thought spirals that just never end. Conscientious folks, they can get trapped in perfectionism loops. Highly agreeable people tend to worry a lot about their relationships and social stuff. And yep, even extroverts overthink. For them, it often looks like constantly needing reassurance from other people. Go on, see if you can spot your own signature style in there. And here's the cool part. Once you know your style, you can find strategies that are actually tailored for you.
So, for example, if you're that conscientious person who gets stuck in perfectionism, you can practice setting more flexible goals. Aim for good enough instead of some impossible perfect standard. Or you could try a technique called cognitive diffusion, which is all about learning how to separate yourself from that harsh inner critic instead of getting all tangled up in what it's saying.
All right, so we've looked at the why from our brains and the how from our personalities, but now I want us to zoom way out. Because this whole experience, it is so much bigger than any one of us. It is a truly global human experience.
Check this out. A massive review of over 130 studies found that the phrase, thinking too much, shows up in cultures all over the planet. It's what anthropologists call a cross-cultural idiom of distress, which is basically a shared, common way that people everywhere talk about mental and emotional pain. So no, this is not just some modern first world problem. Not at all. Researchers have heard this exact phrase in communities from Haiti to Cambodia, from Ghana to rural America. It's a fundamental human response to feeling overwhelmed by life, plain and simple. And what's really fascinating is that across all these different cultures, the triggers are basically the same. People start thinking too much when they're dealing with troubled relationships, major money worries, past trauma, or the stress of being sick. These are the big, fundamental human struggles that connect all of us in this experience. Okay, so we've looked at this whole thing from the inside of our brains to all across the globe. Now for the part you've been waiting for. What can we actually do about it? Let's open up the toolkit and look at some proven ways to break the cycle for good. I absolutely love this metaphor. Think of your mind like a busy train station. All your thoughts, they're the trains, constantly pulling in and heading out. Now, here's the key. You can't stop the trains from arriving. That's impossible. But you absolutely can choose which trains you get on. The goal isn't to have an empty station. The goal is to learn how to stand on the platform and not just automatically jump onto every negative thought train that rolls in. So how do you do that? How do you stay on the platform? Here is a super simple 3-step method you can literally use right now. Step 1, observe. Just notice the thought train as it arrives without any judgment. Like, oh, look, there's the I messed up train again. Interesting. Step 2, reconnect. Pull your attention back into your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Take one single deep breath. This grounds you, it anchors you right here in the present. And step 3, schedule it. Just tell yourself, you know what? I will deal with this train later. I've got a 15-minute worry time scheduled for 5 p.m. What this does is it contains the thought instead of letting it take over your whole day. And listen, there are so many other great tools in this toolkit. Mindfulness helps you become a better observer of those trains. Getting out and moving your body, especially in nature, calms your whole system down. Cognitive reframing helps you challenge those negative thoughts. Self-compassion is huge. It helps you turn down the volume on that inner critic. And journaling, just getting the thoughts out of your head and onto paper can make them seem so much smaller and more manageable. And I want to be clear, these are not just nice, feel-good ideas. They have real, measurable effects on your brain. For instance, a landmark study found that a simple 90-minute walk in nature actually reduced activity in the part of the brain that's linked to this kind of looping thought pattern. I mean, think about that. Something as simple as going for a walk can literally quiet down the overthinking circuits in your brain. So in the end, you don't beat overthinking by fighting your own mind. That's a battle you'll never win. You outgrow it by choosing where to put your attention. So the next time that old, familiar, negative thought train rolls into your station, just remember, you have a choice. You do not have to get on. You can just stand there on the platform and watch it pass by. So I'll leave you with this question. What thought train will you let pass by today?